So here in Roanoke County, for example, your average flood insurance cost is going to be around $1,200. Okay, if your house is going to require flood insurance, if you take out a flood insurance policy voluntarily that you don't necessarily need, that price drops to around $300 to $400 a year.
That's not bad.
It's still an added expense, but especially for those hundreds of houses that just got destroyed by that flood that we had a few years ago. I mean, moving forward, it's not a bad idea to think about.
Yeah, I mean that's
it's going to happen again. It's just a matter of time. You know?
Yeah, that's not a bad deal. I mean, $300 to $400 a year, and because I'm sure if you're like me and others, when you have these heavy rains and you've got a nice basement, because that's typically where it goes, or part of your home that is near the water, I'm sure people worry like, oh my gosh, here comes another rain, and to have that peace of mind, even though your home gets rocked, to be able to pick up the phone and call you and get it taken care of for that dollar amount. Because I've heard crazy numbers for flood insurance. I heard there was a property I was working with in Salem. She was paying like $2,500 a year for it, or over $2,000.
Oh yeah, I mean, depending on the proximity to the nearest waterway, I mean, we have policies on the books now that are over $5,000 a year. I mean, it's crazy. And the bad thing about it is people don't think about this until something bad happens, right? So same thing with life insurance. You don't think about getting life insurance really until a close family member passes away or you're impacted by it in some way or fashion. So that's another uphill battle that we face on a daily basis. It's just getting through these tough conversations with people and saying, hey, I know it's an added expense for you right now, but the peace of mind is going to be well worth it in the long run, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it makes complete sense. Now here's another Well, I got two more questions. I like to ask weird questions. So say the house has a flood damage to it, and they're like, man, we don't have flood insurance, but let's call the insurance agency and we'll get it and then put in the claim 2 weeks later. Can they do that? I mean, that's like breaking the law, right?
Right. Another good question. So what FEMA does and any flood insurance company does is to prevent that from happening, they put a 30-day hold on any new flood insurance applications to be submitted. So it prevents somebody from already, having flood damage. Or let's say we know that we're getting a bad flood, tomorrow or Friday.
Gotcha.
Policy real quick to cover them. So there's always going to be a 30-day hold on that. The exception to that rule is due to a home closing. Like if you're buying a house and your closing is in a week, well, if your house is in a flood zone, you're going to need to show proof that you have flood insurance before you close on the house. So that's the only exception to that 30-day rule is due to a new home purchase.
Yeah, I've heard this one too. Like, there's a guy that lives across town. You pay him $200 and he'll light your car on fire, and just get the insurance to cover it. Have you ever had that where people have done that?
I haven't done that, but I'll tell you a crazy thing that happened to me just last week. Actually, we had one of our policyholders come out or give us a call to give us a heads up on this. And when we had that hailstorm, for example, you had every single roofing company in town come out of the woodworks, and they start door knocking in neighborhoods, right?
Gotcha.
Storm chasers, because these fly-by-night companies will all of a sudden pop up, and you even saw it with auto insurance too, with fixing hail damage on vehicles.
So not ambulance chasers, but storm chasers.
Storm chasers, right? So we had a customer call us last week to give us the heads up that, I'm not going to mention any names, but such and such company was going door to door in their neighborhood claiming that they still have hail damage from the hailstorm last year, and they need to get on the roof and take some photos. And, oh, by the way, the insurance company will cover 100% of this. And that's another thing that we have to deal with, because a lot of times that's not the case. If one thing I'll point out here and I actually did a separate video on this. Let's say from that hailstorm, you have maybe 25 or 50 shingles damaged from that hailstorm, right? Not even 10% of your roof is damaged. The roofing company will come out there and say, oh, we need to replace the whole roof. Just get a brand new roof on it. The insurance company will cover all of it. Well, that can't be farther from the truth, because from an insurance perspective, the insurance company is only required from a legal standpoint to replace those 25 or 50 shingles that were damaged. They don't have to go in and replace the entire roof. They only have to replace or repair the damaged portion of the roof. So there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to that. And what a lot of insurance companies will do is they'll send out their own adjuster to cross-check the work of the roofing company to make sure that nothing is being fabricated, that nothing has been misrepresented on the report, to make sure that we're not going to be on the hook for a brand new $10,000 roof if there's literally only $500 worth of damage to that same roof.
Wow. Yeah, so people out there trying to pull some fast ones. Here's another question. All right, so I've got a tree that's in my neighbor's yard, and it falls on my house and goes through the bedroom window. Who's responsible?
So it's going to depend on if the tree was alive or dead at that time. And by that, if the tree, it depends, like I said, it depends on the overall condition of the tree. But if a tree falls on your property, even if it's on your neighbor's yard, it's technically your responsibility to file the claim as the homeowner. Now, if the tree was dead and the insurance company comes out there and looks at the tree and determines that, hey, this tree has been dead for several years, it's been leaning over on your neighbor's property for years, you should have taken the necessary precautions to prevent this from happening, then at that point, we could potentially get the claim to be filed under your neighbor's policy.
Gotcha. Does that become a fight?
It can, absolutely. And we've had several of those situations pop up as well, because it seems like the neighbor should be responsible no matter what, right? Since the tree was on their property.
Yeah.
But if it was alive and well, then the damage is technically occurring on your property, so you as the homeowner would be responsible for filing that claim.
So basically, you'd have to call your neighbor and say, "Hey, man, can we cut down those trees that are next to our house that are in your yard? Because I'm a little nervous."
Yeah, and we've had to write certified letters in the past in those same situations where we've had our policyholders, really concerned with trees leaning on their house from their neighbor's property. And that way there's at least a written track record of us making the attempt or effort to contact them to do that. Now, whether they do it or not, that's up to them. But we've also, heard of situations where the neighbors will work out some sort of financial agreement, to kind of split the costs on things. So, again, that's kind of like a case-by-case basis there. But it can get to be a sticky situation. Yeah,
I'm sure it can. I mean, or say the insurance, adjuster comes out to your house and they're like, well, we'll only pay this amount to fix this. Can there be arguments there, or do they ask you to get a few different quotes? Say there's a crack on the side of the house or something weird going on.
Yeah, and that's another thing we advise our clients to do is always get at least two estimates on things, because, and the same goes with your insurance, because if you only get one estimate or one quote, you have nothing to compare it with, and you have no idea if that company is just trying to gouge you, and make the price as high as they can to see if you'll buy them and accept the offer. So, and that's another thing that our claims adjusters will always do as well is, if they receive an estimate from, let's say, a roofing company, for example, that, they've been doing it for years, right? So they can see offhand if something looks a little bit higher than it should be. Then they'll look at the estimate from the company and really try to break that down to see if they're really trying to, screw over their customer. And that's why we always would tend to recommend getting two quotes, because a lot of times those two numbers are going to be significantly different.
Gotcha. Okay. How do people get in touch with you if they want to get their home insured, life insurance, or their car insured?
Yeah. So our office number is 904-7833. We're technically, my employees are working remotely right now, so if you call that number, there's an auto attendant where you can press their extension that gets transferred directly to their cell phone. I'm still working out of the office myself, but we're located at the McVitie Executive Center on 419.
What's that near?
So if you are passing the McVitie Road intersection on 419, just down from where the Roanoke County Post Office is, there's an office park that sits off to the right-hand side. It's a row of brick office buildings. It used to be Berkshire Hathaway was based out of there. We're in the same office complex as the Veterinarians to Cats, which is kind of a weird landmark, but everybody seems to know where the Veterinarians to Cats is.
Yeah.
That same exact office park is where we're located. And, of course, you can reach me any type of social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, anything like that if you're interested in getting a quote.
Yeah, it's Bill Meador, Meador. And Bill, as we wrap up this podcast today, you're so good with people, and what do you think one of the keys to your success is, just to help anyone listening today, or realtors, or people that aren't realtors in life? What do you think has made you successful with others?
I think it's just not being afraid to be different and trying new things that your competition isn't trying. And I think you do a great job with this yourself with your videos.
Thank you. I get nervous sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to be too weird? But
no, they are great. Trust me. I wish I had your video editing skills, because I'm definitely lacking in that department. But just don't be afraid to get out there and start doing some video marketing and just put yourself out there and don't really be afraid about what you look like on camera or how you sound on camera or anything like that, because the truth is none of us are movie stars, right? We got to start somewhere. And
yeah,
I think a lot of it comes from not trying to make everything a sales pitch. Just put out some good information and good content that the public would want to know. And if you come across as,
Are you there?
Have somebody in the market right now that wants to buy a house, or, their insurance policy is coming up for renewal. But when the time comes, the goal is that you want them to think of you first, to contact.
Yeah, you cut off there for a second with your phone, but you said the last three sentences I caught, but before that, I think you were saying you don't want to come across as too salesy.
Yeah, you don't want to come across as too salesy and like a call me. More to be a local educator and an expert on your particular topic or field.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I pump out a lot of sales stuff like, hey, it's, I can do this, I can do that. But if you provide them some value, like, for instance, I price properties on the entire East Coast, and if you go to For Sale by Owner, they charge $200 to price a property. And I was thinking, man, I could just do a video and let people know, hey, I'll price your property for free, even if you don't use me, just to help them out.
Yeah, that's huge. Like, anything that you can do that, your competition can't do, or the majority of your competition can't do, but it's still good knowledge, for the public to have, I think is great. I think that definitely help. And it takes a while. I'm not gonna lie to you. It takes a while to build trust and to get